Howdy ho, everybody. I am Donut, here with my fiance.
Termites.
I've seen South Park up to season 20-something.
I'm watching it blinds.
This is, of course, a Black Lives Matter, All Cops Bastards, and Trans Rights supporting channel, and if you don't like that, get the fuck out of here. This is season 4, episode 15, Fat Camp.
Boy, you really got to acronym that down a bit more.
See,
it's all important, but at the same time, it's getting so long.
It is, but no, it's all important. It's all important.
All right, I agree with that.
But yeah, this episode is Fat Camp.
I mean, usually I would say Cartman goes to Fat Camp, but after last episode, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be a vignette where we watch some pigs go to a factory and the fat gets sucked out of them.
What is your true prediction? Final prediction?
Final prediction is Cartman too fat, so his mom sends him to Fat Camp. Meanwhile, the rest of the boys go to a hot dog eating contest or something, where it's like very hungry, and then the resolution at the very final arc in the final act is they can't eat all the hot dogs, so they get Cartman from Fat Camp. He's super thin now, but then he eats all the hot dogs. He's super fat again.
I do like how the start, like when we were early into this, I would say, what is your prediction for this episode? And you'd be like, oh, no, they're gonna meet Bigfoot. And then now you can, you've seen enough to be able to give a full episode, idea. I do love that, though. I'm glad you're getting more into the, predicting the style of South Park.
And yet it's so off the wall that I can never have a truly good prediction. It's always going to have a wrench in there.
That's what makes it so great. Alright, if you want to see the full length, check it out on Patreon for $4 a month.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, this episode is even better than I remembered it.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the ones where I remembered pretty much the entire episode, and it was still, even better. What would you rate the episode?
I feel like I gotta give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. It's so hard, because I just don't want to be rating everything 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, oh, no, okay, I gotta give this one 8 out of 10. It's definitely gonna be way more, it's gonna be so skewed by the end towards the, because it really is, the later it goes on, the more you have to base it off of. Whereas the more early we are in, the more we're willing to give something a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, because it is the best one we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Or something. But yeah, I think looking ahead, I think I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10. I think I'll.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite joke off the top of your head?
I mean, it's gotta be Chef's song. Or specifically, I would say specifically the principal coming in during Chef's song.
Yeah, there was another thing that, killed me. I was dying laughing for, a minute. I don't remember what it is now. But, yeah, I guess the Principal Victoria coming in is a good one. Who was it? I don't even know who it was, but just Chef doing every time ladies and gentlemen, introducing random guest singer coming out right now.
I do not remember.
Even though every time he does that, it's usually not the actual, it's one of them doing an impersonation. But, it always gets me every time. It's so fucking random. But yeah, I do like calling out, Chef's, as we've talked before, Chef's extremely, old toxic masculinity, that very, very almost a grandfather toxic masculinity. As the same with Stan's grandfather and stuff like that. Even though Chef's pretty young, he seems to be grown up on that. I mean, even as a kid, he was the same way. So Chef is just permanently, constantly horny.
He's got the horny boomer mentality.
Oh yeah. This episode, Kenny didn't die.
Yeah.
One of the only episodes where Kenny hasn't died yet.
2 in a row.
I guess he didn't die last episode either. We didn't talk about that, but technically, yeah. What did you think about just the two, overall episode? Before we get into any specific, what did you have any experience with this or that? What did you think about the whole episode overall with both plots?
Overall, it worked really, really well. I did not at all suspect this just the straight up not Cartman reveal.
Yeah. Great reveal.
Yeah. And I really do think, having it not be someone doing a Cartman impression, but having it just be Cartman's voice, really sold how weird it was to see Cartman with that design, with the design of any of the other kids.
And they like with the style of it, with them all having the exact same face and everything. It works so well as a reveal. Like doing that sort of stuff is so easy. Him dressing up as Kenny, like the fact that he can be both Eric and Kenny in the exact same episode, is perfect.
Like the only real difference is the double chin that he has.
Yeah. And I don't think we got his name at all.
I don't think so either.
But I really I liked him as a one episode character. He didn't really have much character. I just like him as a more like a plot device than a character.
Sure.
But it's always been a funny idea to me of being able to disguise himself as Eric and Kenny, which is like two so different characters already.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious to think about. And yeah, as you said, like it being a completely different person, but yet it's still looking so unnaturally like as being Cartman in his clothes. So with the Kenny hole subplot, I think before we get into the fat camp stuff, let's talk about Jackass and Tom Green and
Howard Stern to some extent.
Opie and Anthony, all that sort of shit. What is it? Was it Wild Boys?
Maybe.
It sounds wrong. It sounds too generic, but I think it is the Wild Boys with a Z. But yeah, that whole idea of doing, and I think it is very interesting that they are the ones making fun of that and rallying against that, because South Park is also very much edgy for edgy's sake a lot of times.
Yeah.
To be fair, primarily I would say in seasons 1 through 3.
Okay.
In terms where a lot of stuff will be edgy for the sake of edgy, whereas I feel like post then it's a lot more clear that it's the characters saying something rather than times where it's they'll say I agree with everything Cartman says that episode, and it's like, what? Why would you? It's very telling that the only person in show you could get to say this message you agreed with was Cartman.
Right.
That is very telling of itself, and it's really, it's easy to see why later on when they're like, oh yeah, the message we had in that episode was actually really shitty, and it's like, yeah, I could tell it was a shitty message because it was coming from fucking Cartman. No shit. But yeah, what was I talking about? That theirs is animation versus real life, which is a big distinction in the edgy stuff they're doing.
Yeah,
because as they said, I think the good example is the baby pranks are always really fucked up. They're never funny to me. I loved Jackass. I was obsessed with Jackass. Me and my friends who do Jackass sort of shit all the time. And I do understand Jackass is a problem, I almost died many times in my life because of Jackass.
Oh, jeez.
For sure. I get how it is, more so than a lot of other media. It is very much so, way more influential than a lot of other stuff, because it is, even though it's the don't try this at home, everything like that, the entire show is very, these guys are cool because they're doing this, and it created a whole generation of kids who think it's really cool to, thinking that being edgy is cool. Doesn't, the comedy, but, you can make an edgy joke and it can be comedic, but there's an entire generation now that just thinks being edgy is cool and is funny, rather than, being able to make a joke, out of it. And usually it's a lot easier to make, edgy jokes when you are that group as well.
Yeah. I think also, Jackass and a lot of Jackass clones have a more, you can literally just do this mentality to the stunts. Whereas, something like South Park does tend to cage a lot of things in a layer of, this is absolutely insane.
Yeah. The manatee things are a good example. That is shock value.
Yeah.
There is, it's a good joke. That's the thing too. You can do edgy and you can do comedy well together. Because edgy does not have to be racially edgy or, any, sort of other thing like that. A manatee being dissected is edgy in and of itself, too. Having that is shock value, but it's not hurting anybody, and it is, the only person it's hurting is somebody who is going to look at that and be like, oh, how dare they put this on TV? What is that going to make a kid do? you know, versus like Jackass is clearly, what's that going to make a kid do? It's going to make a kid, you know, try and hurt themselves and film it and put it on YouTube, which is exactly what I did and exactly what many other kids did. So like, yeah, there's a very clear distinction between what the kids are going to do and what they're, like the spontaneous, you know, farting episode or whatever, where it's like the kids are going to set themselves, or like the Beavis and Butthead thing, where it's like, oh, kids are going to set themselves on fire. And there might be like one example of a kid, I think specifically there was a kid who had done that for Beavis and Butthead. But it's like, you know, there's the one outlier compared to all this other stuff. But you can see the effects of Jackass. Yeah. And I mean, you can, like, even something like, there's plenty of, you know, cultural stuff like that, like Japan with women is you know, their culture around how fucked up it is still with women, you know, in Japan today. A lot of it be through, you know, the media, and just further, you know, cementing that idea in the public. But yeah, I think, you know, South Park at times has plenty of the being edgy for the sake of being edgy and not really much of a comedic, you know, and to be fair, I think a lot of times that is Cartman, is where they recognize, like, we want to do this because we want to offend somebody, but we do recognize that it is coming from a place of, you know, a bad character saying this, but we think it is funny to be able to have a character as shitty as Cartman say something really bad on, you know, TV. Or even, like, you know, like the spectacle of, you know, having Wendy have her, like, song, she's saying a bunch of cusses, but not actually, you know, the whole joke is just, you know, knowing that this is playing on TV. Like, the joke is, ha ha ha, we got her to say cunt on TV. Yeah. Which, I mean, is, you know, and that is kind of funny in and of itself, you know, that, like, it shows the hypocrisy of, you know, network television. Right. Where it's like, they don't actually care. Like, they know what's going, kids know what's, you know, going on here. Everybody knows what the scene is. You're just only allowing it on a technicality because you don't actually care about morality. You just care about, you don't actually care about the kids or anything. You just care about, you know, this arbitrary law that you've created. Right. And I think that's where a lot of their edginess comes from. Sure. Whereas Jackass and stuff like that does not feel like a, you know, a fuck you to the media or to the FCC or to any. It really doesn't. Even though it flies in the face of a lot of that, it never feels purposeful. Yeah.
And I definitely agree with something like Howard Stern, where, like, for a little while, I think Howard Stern started off as a very, like, you know, I'm on the radio, so I'm going to thumb my nose at authority. But the moment it became private radio and he could do whatever he wanted, that immediately dissolves, because then it is just, hey, I'm in the studio, I'm gonna make someone do a blowjob.
Yeah, like, that is a positive, because Howard Stern was I think he was a interesting, you know, I don't know enough about him to say he was a good person. Okay. But, you know, I think he was potentially a good person. I think he was charismatic. I liked him. But, yeah, especially, you know, as it's gone on in more recent times, it's just like, I mean, not even more recent times, just like, very quickly it devolved into just like, man, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we, you just become the thing that you are parodying. or that you're trying to, you know, fight against in a way.
Right, it's...
yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure if I have much else to add to that. I mean, Opie and Anthony, I mentioned, I think they're the fucking worst, you know? I don't think, like, Jackass, I think there is some, you know, value to, I think there's some value to Wild Boys and all this sort of stuff. But, even like Howard Stern, you know, old Howard Stern, I think there's some even like current Howard, like sometimes Howard Stern is, it's, you know, I'll never listen to him, but, anymore, but I can recognize that, you know, sometimes it's still passable. I haven't really kept up on this. I can't really say anything past, like, the fucking, you know, early 2000s, 90s, so I have no fucking idea.
Sure.
But, yeah, Opie and Anthony, man, there's nothing redeemable about them. Just nothing. Absolutely nothing. And, you know, there's a lot of people that I feel like, there's a lot of crossover, you know, with all this edgy stuff. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people have a very passing, you know, like of Opie and Anthony sometimes. Like, they heard, like, a clip or two from Opie and Anthony that they liked or whatever. But it's like... Man, like, Opie and Anthony is just... everything they do is just the worst. Like, I remember specific, the one that always stands out to me that I can point to as being the absolute worst is the one where they go up to a homeless guy and take his... I'm pretty sure it was a guitar. Like, the homeless guy was playing a guitar to earn money. And they go up to him and take his guitar and smash the guitar and throw all his money all over the street. And then, you know, yell at him. And then it's like, haha. What? Yeah.
I mean, right now, Opie and Anthony have split up. Opie is just kind of wandering around trying to get a show. I mean, like, he's had 1 or 2 shows,
Yeah.
but it's mostly just been a bad man that no one likes, wandering around shit-talking everyone.
I love that's the best news to Opie I've ever heard. A bad man nobody likes.
And I do feel like if you stake your existence on I'm the bad man, then eventually you become the bad man no one likes.
Yeah. Yippers. Let's go into some notes. Oh, actually, sticking on this actually. For we're not even getting to the fat camp shit yet either. Still sticking with this.
There's a lot.
I definitely have a lot of relatability to Kenny this episode. I mean, not to this extremes or anything like that, but I've definitely done some, hey, do this fucked up thing for money because I didn't have any money, or more so than that, I've done it once or twice, but I was pretty. I more would do bet sort of stuff.
Okay.
Like, have a bet, and then it's like, well, if I was wrong in the bet, then I would eat, something more gross, whatever. But I only ever did it, like, for money, like, once or twice. And it was, that was when I was much, much younger.
Okay.
But, I want to defend, I, knew plenty of people who would do, the thing like that, who would, eat the most disgusting things, who would, like, throw up and then eat their throw up again for money. And it's like, I completely understand it. It is like prostitution, but there's also nothing wrong with prostitution either.
Sure.
Well, let me say, there's nothing wrong with the act of prostitution. There's definitely a lot wrong with the industry of prostitution.
Sure. Okay. I'll accept that.
Yeah. Like sex work in and of itself is completely fine, but it has to be privatized completely. Like it is you are running it yourself. The girl is not a part of a company. That is. Any kind like that, I being a part of it is fucked up because you can still get plenty of work, private as well. Especially now with the internet. I mean, like, and by sex work, I don't even necessarily mean literally having sex. OnlyFans is still sex work.
Yeah,
and that's completely fine. Who gives a shit? So like. Where are we going? Yeah, that the eating and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I agree. It is prostitution, but there's nothing wrong with that because that's a lot of people. That's the only way they're going to be able to make the money to survive.
Right.
So, yeah, like I definitely was close friends with people who would do stuff like that. So this episode, very funny, but also very like, yeah, very relatable. And that's how, like, a lot of Jackass are, like, you want to talk about Jackass is kind of fucked up, too, with Johnny Knoxville being the sort of, like, ringleader, where he's, like, the, oh, yeah, I'll do this, and Johnny Knoxville's fucked up his own body in plenty of ways. I understand. But it also started and, has, been throughout very, I'll do this lighter thing while I make you guys do all the way worse shit. And, again, as it went on, he got a lot better about that, I think, but definitely when it started, it was I'm the star, and I'm going to do some, stuff, like with the TV show specifically. Once they started doing the movies, I think, was way more like Johnny being like, okay, I guess I'm a part of this, and I have to, fuck up my balls for my life now. I don't think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's good that there's more solidarity, but it's also bad because it's just like they're fucking up their bodies for the rest of their life. But at the same time, it's also like, if they want to do whatever the fuck they want to do with their bodies, whatever, but then at the same time, it's like, but then you're, putting it on TV and it's such a big influence. There's so many aspects to it. Jackass, I'm fascinated with it because it's there's so much value to it artistically, honestly. Like, that sort of, like, just watching somebody do something that you would never do.
Sure.
But then you do it,
I mean, I do think you can draw an extremely strong correlation between Jackass-style stuff and pornography.
Or even, like, Saw.
Yeah.
Like, all that sort of stuff is, all in one package.
I guess, the extremes of the body,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so...
and also, Jackass does have a very big, like, you and the boys toxic masculinity thing. So, like, as a kid, even, it was, like, one of the first forays into, like, that this is a weird way to go that I understand, but, like, that weird, like, YouTuber, not weird, but, that YouTuber, you're friends with them, like, a group of YouTubers where, like a podcast, and you feel like you're all friends with them as part of a conversation.
Okay.
I feel like that sort of vibe has the same sort of vibe as Jackass for some people, where they weren't characters. They were
Mhm.
themselves. But it wasn't like a fake reality TV show.
Okay.
It was just like it had that vibe of you and your boys pulling out a camera and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna hit you in the nuts with a baseball bat." It was very, very relatable to teen boys. So I think that there's a big aspect of that in it as well, of a little bit of found family in a weird way.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean Wild Boys as well. I think again, I think I'm gonna get that name wrong, but it's something like that. Something like Wild Boys. But I mean, like, and again, it has very bad impacts on their life. A lot of them were a lot better, way better before Jackass, and it really fucked up their life. Like Bam Margera or Ryan. What's his name? No
idea.
The one who died in the car crash. I can't remember what his name is. I think it's Ryan something. Ryan Dunn or something like that. It's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean it's fucked up a lot of their lives in some pretty bad ways. But on the other hand, it's like Steve-O, Jackass fucked up his life a lot, but also if it wasn't for Jackass, he'd probably be dead and he wouldn't be, completely recovered now and all that. So it goes both ways.
Sure.
That's why I think, honestly, Jackass is so fascinating. I'm talking so long about this, for like 40 minutes into this, and half of this probably just talking about Jackass.
Yeah.
But I have a huge relationship with Jackass in my life, so. Anything else you have to say about that side before I move on?
Just like, I will say, I do think if Jackass did not exist, I would not be so. How would I put this? Like, I did used to get solicited a lot by people who really like Jackass because they knew I was, big normie or, big, like, not someone who would do that kind of thing, but also that I was, like, into weird hentai and stuff.
Okay.
So I used to get solicited a lot from guys who were like, please, like, will you pay me if I let you kick me in the balls or step on my face or that kind of thing.
Okay.
Like, it was very much the, like, I guess the reverse of your situation where instead of being told, like, hey, I'll give you $20 if you eat that spider, instead it was, I'm gonna eat the spider, will you give me $5 for it?
Hell yeah.
And I tried not to do that. I was never very comfortable with it. And that has, I think, bled over into, like, prostitution and other stuff where I am extremely uncomfortable with being solicited.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, like, I can understand why some people enjoy the rush of of someone debasing themselves for them, but I can't enjoy it that much. I enjoy it a lot more if it is without any money. Someone just saying, you don't need to pay me. I just understand that you are better than I am. Please step on my face. I am so much more comfortable with that than someone saying, please, I need to feed my family. Please give me $5 and you can step on my face. Kick me in the nuts.
You have just blown my mind though, because I just realized a lot of my masochism fetish probably does come from Jackass and all that. I mean, that was instilled into me from a early age. So I mean, and a lot of Jackass is pretty sexualized too. So, and also a lot of Jackass is really gay. So I mean, Jackass is filled to the brim with male nudity.
Yeah, you're not wrong from what I've seen.
So yeah, I think that definitely has a lot to do with it too. Yeah, okay, let's move on to the fat camp stuff.
Yeah.
Still going strong. There's a lot of big discussion in this episode. Yeah, I feel like they had, the message at the end was nice, but I think I would have liked it more and I would have rated it even higher if it had a more message of the fat camp needing to be shut down.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, fat camps are really fucked up because most of the time it is sort of like what we saw at the beginning where it is like, one, it's a lot of blame, so much blame, which, helps for some people, but if you're sending them to a fat camp, it's probably not the kind of person who's going to help.
Yeah.
Fat shaming myself helped me lose weight, but, that's because of the kind of person I am. Whereas, again, you sending somebody to the fat camp that's not that kind of person.
Yeah.
And yeah, giving them these immediate, extremely vegetarian, healthy, meals instead of slowly working them down.
Yeah.
And, really expecting them to do it, full cold turkey. And a lot of, fat people have very specific medical conditions. Not that, keep them, you know, not like they are fat because of that, but, you know, it is sometimes once you get to that point, you establish a condition that then makes it a lot harder to then lose the weight.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just has some very specific, you know, medication or whatever. And, you know, I don't know if it would be the same for other countries, but I know the U.S. is a big problem with, you know, in general, anybody having a specific problem with medication and then, you know, as like a young person being sent, you know, to a camp or being sent to wherever, even like something like juvie or, you know, like mental hospital or anything like that, any sort of like institution. Where even with the parents will be like, you know, here's their medical records, here's the shit they need, and then they end up not getting that and getting, you know, it just, you know, falls through the system. But yeah, so that is a big problem with fat camps as well. I've never gone to a fat camp, but I have, you know, known many friends who have. Okay. So, all of which still fat afterwards because they would get skinny and then immediately gain the weight as soon as they went back home.
Right.
Because they're not teaching them, you know, how to actually keep the weight off. They're just sort of forcing this shit upon them until they lose the weight, and then they send them back, but they're not, you know, or the exact opposite, where some fat camps can, you know, be done way more like a military boot camp, which it is a military boot camp, where they literally are like, yes, this is a fat camp. Oh yeah, but by the way, we're gonna have military people come here and try and like recruit you. It's a fat camp, but yes, we're gonna have sergeants be here.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, the U.S. military trying to recruit is insane. I mean, like, you can see it through Twitch now, which everybody could see coming a mile away with all through the 2000s. Every military commercial was like, you love playing Call of Duty and shooting the brown people, right? Come join us! It's insanity. But yeah, I think honestly that is one of the biggest things. The fat camps and military are too ingrained. They're too connected. It's insane how connected they are. But yeah, I you know, fuck fat camps.
The only thing I feel kind of weird about is that every fat character, except for Cartman, all the new fat characters also had extremely obese parents.
Yeah.
Which I guess they may even try and say something along the lines of, you know, they all have pre-existing medical conditions.
And also, to be fair, that is the case. I mean, a lot of fat kids, I would say the majority of, you know, people who are fat have parents who are fat.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of a, you know, that is how it, you know, it happens, you know?
Yeah.
You'll let your kid, you know, eat way too much, and then they get fat, and they establish conditions that make it harder for them to get less fat, and then, you know, it just continues and continues.
Yeah.
Especially if the parents are very fat, then they're going to have a ton of food in the house as well, because, you know, they want a lot of food as well.
Yeah.
And yeah. And you know, I don't think it's fat shaming to, you know, it just say the word fat or acknowledge, you know, fatness. You know, I think, you know, I can acknowledge that it is very hard to lose weight for plenty of people. And also I think, you know, being fat is not really a problem. Being morbidly obese, that's like a problem. When it is affecting your health, it's still the thing where it's like, it's only affecting your health, so honestly, who the fuck gives a shit? But, you know, if you have, like, kids, that's when it's like, you know, if you're a parent and you're morbidly obese, that's when I'm like, okay, now it's not your body. Or not that it's not your body anymore, but it's like, it's not, you have to, you know, you should be being more healthy for your child.
Yeah, like, other people depend on your life.
Yeah. And that's where, you know, I think it becomes a problem. But if you're, you know, you're just a person, whatever, and you're morbidly obese even, I don't give a fuck, you know? I used to give a fuck, but, you know, why? Why did I give a fuck? You know, they're not hurting anybody. Who the fuck cares? I mean, they're hurting our capitalist economy, but other than just furthering this capitalist fucking nightmare. But aside from that, I can excuse that.
Oh, boy. I mean, I don't know if I want to expend that many resources once we finally hit socialist economy, though.
But to be fair, I mean, I think that, you know, in a true, you know, socialist, in true, like, communist, you know, whatever, you know, what am I trying to say? I don't want to mean country, but just, like, whatever, you know, territory, I guess I mean. Yeah, I mean, someone, not just that it should be, people should be able to have access to food that keeps them alive. People should be able to eat however the fuck they want.
Okay.
You know, honestly, a true socialist, you know, society would be however much free food you want.
Sure, to each according to their needs.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that, but
Okay.
in our current way, you know, it's definitely furthering the capitalist economy, which you know, but you know, everybody's, you know, a part of the capitalist economy. You cannot be a part of the system. It's impossible not to be, but you can certainly, there's a level where it starts becoming, you know, unacceptable. What else do we have? Anything else really to talk about?
Did you ever do any dissections in class?
Oh, I know, I never did.
Oh, really?
Well, we like were going to do dissections, but I specifically just didn't go.
Okay.
My mom was very, very chill with me skipping school to the point where when I was in like elementary, like the last year of elementary school, 5th grade, I skipped so much that she went to jail.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, and by skipped, I mean she just let me stay home, which is, you know, it wasn't like I was skipping. I would just say, I don't want to go to school, and she'd be like, okay, because my mom was extremely passive. So she went to jail for like 2 weeks, I think it was. Like it was jail. It wasn't prison, and but I mean it was still bad. Yeah. It was still traumatic, and you know it definitely changed her a lot for the better. You know.
Okay.
I think it really helped her stop being so passive in life, and it really, you know, that is, I think, the turning point in her life. And she, you know, has also been like, she's honestly glad that it happened because it, you know, changed her so much and made her like, my own child is literally just being like, I want to stay home, and I'm like, okay, like that's not okay.
Yeah.
You know? But you know, there is, you know, after that point, it was like, okay, this is how many days, you know, your child cannot be in school. And so my mom would be like, okay, as long as it's under that amount, that's fine. So, you know, I would be like, they're dissecting frogs, you know, tomorrow. I don't want to fucking do that. I'm going to stay home. She's like, okay. I mean, like, sure. I would, like, bank them up where, you know, towards, like, I would wait usually until, like, the last 3 months of school or so to really be like, okay, I haven't really, you know, missed any days of school. Now I can just miss days whenever the fuck I want to because I can use them. And it wasn't until my like 11th grade where they actually pulled me aside and they were like, "Hey, we noticed you've been doing this thing, and we're not letting you miss more than 2 days of school, even though you've missed like I missed 2 days and you can't miss more than 2 days." And I'm like, what? It was such a bullshit thing, and absolutely fucking hated it. But also there was another year where we got so many snow days that you know they were like, you're gonna have to go to school for an extra week to make up for that, and I just didn't go to school for that week. I knew many people that just didn't go to school for that week. It was like the attendance was abysmal for that week.
Wow.
But they still did it because they're like, it doesn't matter if there's 5 kids in this classroom.
It's a week.
But yeah, did you ever go to like a camp or anything?
Never camp.
Okay. I went to a like, you know, sleepaway camp for, you know, school. It was a cross school thing. Like, you know, we went like one class it was like one class from our school, then one class from this school, and all these other schools going to, and then they would like rotate, you know, this week is, you know, this class from our school and all these other classes, and then it'll be another class from our school, blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't like our whole school going. But, yeah, and that was it was like a 4-day weekend sort of thing. Okay. Very, very fun. I loved it. The worst part about it though was like just how restrictive it was, and so of course, you know, me and the friends I had made there like trying to sneak off, you know, all the fucking time and just do our own shit. But yeah, definitely got super, you know, homesick as well. But yeah.
No, I used to intentionally skip those. A, because I wanted more time at school to do projects, because I was that kid. And B, because I wanted to instead bank up, like, days in which we were going to go out. I mean, also, I guess I just didn't want to, like, hang out with all my friends outside of school. But I also wanted to, like, go on, like, field trips to, like, musicals and stuff. So even if I wasn't part of drama class, I would just ask the drama teacher, like, hey, I know you're going to go see, Midsummer Night's Dream or something. Can I just tag along? And they'd always be like, yeah, sure, as long as you pay.
Wow. I mean, I definitely, one of my best friends, whose name was literally George Bush, he was the exact same way. He would go on field trips and then, you know, go with one of the teachers off somewhere, and he would never tell me. Now I finally know, like, what he was doing, but, like, I always thought it was, like, you know, he had some, like, special, you know, medical thing or something.
Okay.
But like he would just like go off with the teachers every time he did a field. That's probably what he was doing. Just like, hey, I don't want to, he was a very you kind of person. He was a very like more, well-off, more privileged person. I don't know any better way to put it than that. But what was I? What were you just saying before that? Before I said that?
That I used to intentionally not go to multi-day camps.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say that the reason why I like specifically went on that one and like went on any field trip I could, hoping that it was gonna be with like other schools and everything. That was I was bullied a lot in my own school, so that trip I remember very, very fondly. I even took like a Polaroid camera with me, or like I think I'm saying the Polaroid ones are the ones where you take a picture and it comes right out, right? Yeah. I still have like all like I don't have pretty much like anything, but I do still have like those pictures because it's such a good memory of like I really like that was the first time I really felt like I was making friends. I knew how to make friends, and it felt like so good to be in an environment where it wasn't around a bunch of people who already had like preconceived notions of who I was or anything.
Right.
Really, really enjoyed it.
Also, to be fair, when I was in 6th grade, I'm pretty sure my entire view of multi-day trips was poisoned by this one kid who just left school for a month to go on a month-long Christian summer camp. And then he came back, and then for one day near the end of the year, our teacher was like, all right, so we gotta watch this video of your classmate at this month-long summer camp. And so we sat down, it was like 2 hours long. What? And we watched this music video. Of this one...
2-hour music video?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of Christian rock. There's that song from Puddle of Mudd, I think, I feel so alive. Yeah. There's so much Christian rock on this one. So I was in there for 2 hours. I'm wearing a chain, and I'm asking one of my friends to choke me to death, and he is doing it. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's worth it. Oh no, my mom's gonna be mad. Okay, stop.
Oh god.
So after that, even if I didn't, I think that is genuinely the root.
That's gonna spoil it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough. Yeah, I definitely have had a bad idea of camps. Like, what I did was not like a camp, it was just like a sleepaway thing. But, sometimes they're called sleepaway camps, but I don't really think of it as a camp, because it was just 3-day thing, instead of like a camp you think of as being there for a while.
Yeah.
But, okay, I think we're done. I think we're done this episode.
Okay, sure.
Anything else?
I did some dissections, so like...
Oh, yeah, you talk about your dissections. Go ahead.
There's not that much to it. It is just that dissections are cool, and it's all donated stuff, so it's fine, but I definitely did feel weird once when we were doing, I want to say, like, just parts of a cow. Like, it wasn't an entire cow, it was just like, okay, everyone gets, like, a heart, a... liver, I think. And it was just like, all right, let's just go through this step by step.
Really quick, I said frog. I mean worm, actually. I'm just remembering. It wasn't even a frog. I was like, I don't even want to dissect a worm. But continue.
I also I never did the frog. We did, the parts of a cow instead of a frog because we couldn't find frogs.
You couldn't find frogs, but you could find parts of a cow?
Yeah.
I mean, well, I was going to say this is America. Well, it's not America.
We did a bunch of dissections, but the only ones that really stuck with me were cow and then, squid. And squid was only because we also cooked and ate the squids afterwards. There's not a lot of interesting stuff in the squid. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
You cooked and ate the squid afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was fun.
Such a weird thing for science class. Also, a tangent, but this just reminded me, and it just made me mad remembering it. When I was in home ec, and we would each, we were in teams, and each team would make, the same sort of thing.
Okay.
Like, whatever. I don't remember what we made. Let's say, it was something with meat, I believe.
Okay.
It was the first time we were doing something with meat. I think. I can't remember. But, And it was a team of 3 with me and 2 other people.
Mm-hmm.
We did it. Then we got sick. We all went to the nurse. Like, we all had a class together later, and we're like, "Are you also feeling terrible today?" And we're all like, "Yeah." So we all went to the nurse together, and like, we were on a team in home ec. We made this thing. We all feel terrible now. We're pretty sure it's specifically because of that. And the nurse specifically told us, stop fucking faking. There's no way that all 3 of you would have gotten sick if you ate it. Oh, God, I hate schools.
Oh boy, I see why she's a school nurse and not a nurse.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh no.
Fuck me, I can't wait.
Yikes.
But yeah, I wanted to say one other last thing. Oh, Miss Crabtree. So not much different from Mr. Garrison.
No.
So fair. I mean, she did get trained under him, but yeah, like I think that really shows now.
Yeah.
Really was immediately like, manatees exciting? Yeah, well, of course they are. Alright, that is it for this episode. See you guys for the next one. God, this is a fucking long one.
Yeah.
Till then, get the fuck out of here.